Hey, what's up, guys? Kevin Cage here with another crypto update. Hope everybody's doing all right out there as this market just keeps on crashing. We're going to run through some recent news today, but first, let's take a quick look at the price charts. Okay, first up, looking at the Bitcoin monthly price chart, I know there is a lot of fear in markets as Bitcoin is just consolidating near its previous cycle top. We've yet to see that first major move. Alts are at lows, and the market is just generally illiquid. And this is creating a lot of fear, a lot of uncertainty. And at least from what I'm seeing, it seems like the sentiment, at least for retail investors that maybe are new to crypto or haven't experienced the full cycle, they think this is the end of the altcoin market, and I don't think that's the case. And I would expect every person in crypto that has experienced a full bull run, a full bear market, or even multiple over the years, they believe another cycle is coming. It's really just a matter of when. So looking at Bitcoin during the previous cycles, this gives rise to the historical alt season we've seen where Bitcoin dominance gets its crash and alt dominance skyrockets. So looking at Bitcoin dominance, we know in 2017 we had the huge crash as Bitcoin is creating higher highs, and then in 2021 we saw the same exact thing. We have Bitcoin dominance here yet to crash. Just related to this price chart, we can see the monthly RSI is the highest it's ever been. I personally expect that alt dominance increases when we see a large crash for Bitcoin dominance. Whether you believe Bitcoin dominance is close to its top, we see a decent crash, or if we actually run much higher first, before the crash. So right now, just looking at this, remember that these crashes typically happened after Bitcoin was already drawing major moves in all-time highs, which we haven't seen. So I remind myself of that. It's not like I've seen Bitcoin dominance already crash to the lows and alts didn't perform whatsoever. We haven't even seen that moment. And looking at the HBAR price chart as an example for last cycle, we can see HBAR launched, it crashed, it entered accumulation, playing a game of ping pong, up, down, up, down. When did it finally move? Well, Bitcoin dominance before its crash crashed during the week of December 28th, 2020, so we got that crash. During that week, that is pretty darn close to the exact bottom for HBAR before it experienced an alt season. So this is just an example of HBAR's price action last cycle when Bitcoin dominance crashed and Bitcoin is drawing higher highs, and a variety of assets performed differently. Some were just ranging at lows, some were at lows, and some even retraced more with Bitcoin, but the end result was another alt season. So all this price action for HBAR ranging, even if you think it goes and retests the lows, this is all noise until we see confirmation of next cycle. And confirmation for me would be seeing Bitcoin draw its first major move, that first monthly candle above the previous cycle top, like we've seen here going over this previous cycle top, like we've seen here going over the previous cycle top, and then right there over its previous cycle top. And in terms of looking at the cycle lengths and the position after the Bitcoin halving, these purple circles, we are after the Bitcoin halving and we are coming up to elections. We can see historically every 4 years the price action during elections or after elections. So structurally, we're in a similar position to past cycles. The difference is we've yet to see our first major move, that first large monthly candle. We've been consolidating here for months. And I know I was hoping to see our first major move in May, thinking we are going to be similar in terms of consolidation like 2017, but we've been drawing longer, and it doesn't mean the structure is broken. So really just looking at Bitcoin ranging, the question is how are we going to perform in here? And if we hold this actual structure and the uptrend, I believe another cycle is still coming. And this trend line has multiple confluences besides just the uptrend on the weekly time frame. I also want to emphasize this is the exact length of the longest cycle, 2013 cycle top, until seeing the first major move in 2017. Going from the peak of the price chart until we saw that first major move, this is 1,277 days. Instead of using the peak of the price, we can use the peak of the RSI, but in this case, it's the exact same, so we could measure from the peak of the RSI until we saw that first major move. It's still the same length. And if we took either of those lengths from the peak of the RSI right down there as I move up, we're going to go from the peak of the RSI for 1,277 days, that's September. Or instead of using the peak of the RSI, we can use the peak of the price or the cycle top right there and do the same thing. And that takes us to this trend line perfectly at the previous cycle top. So the only thing that would change my mind into thinking that the next cycle is not coming is if Bitcoin were forming a triple top. This is 1, 2, and 3, and we crash, but I still expect, regardless, when Bitcoin dominance crashes, that alts recover. So for the month of August, watching Bitcoin hold around the 8-month EMA, I want to see monthly candle bodies still close above this level. If we close below, then I'll get more worried about the trend getting weaker, but we're still holding this uptrend, and we can see those levels right there. So basically, anybody arguing for Bitcoin to see a major move in all-time high, Bitcoin dominance finding its top, crashing, creating another alt season, that potential is absolutely there this year or into 2025 in this uptrend. And if we looked at this cycle from the peak of the price until seeing that first major move, 1096, we've already been in this range from the peak of the RSI And using the peak of the price chart, looking at 1096 days, that takes us to November. So anyways, if you think that comparing the previous cycles of waiting for a first major move or looking at the halving at election dates and looking at the RSI is silly or it's complete garbage, that's totally fine. This is just something that I use for me to help keep my expectations in check. Next up, I'm sure you guys have seen price action in the stock market. We have Reuters right there, global stocks plunge. Looking at the S&P 500, we've talked about this level before with the monthly RSI right around 70, so either rejecting or going past it, and we can see that we rejected. So right around 70, we can see previously from the 2021 highs retracing around the 786, pulling back, and then going to all-time highs, reaching the 1618. Looking at the Russell compared to the S&P 500, we can see that since the 2021 highs, we've come up a little over the 786, but we're pulling back thus far. So we'll see how deep this pullback is. If we were to see the Russell in the future create all-time highs and really run potentially to other extensions above, that would be a really good thing for the crypto asset class and the total liquidity index that Rel highlights. And also looking at the Dow Jones on the monthly time frame, we can see bearish divergence with the RSI in a downtrend, and we have higher highs. I could adjust, but we have 3 points of contact. I could even go up there. But either way, this is bearish divergence. We also have Ethereum, and a couple videos ago I said I wanted to see Ethereum maintain above the 50-week moving average, and we've crashed right to that level thus far. So for ETH to maintain strength in this uptrend, we definitely want to see weekly candle body closures above this yellow moving average right around 2675. And one last chart is looking at the total crypto market cap. We know last cycle we came up to a perfect 4.236. This cycle thus far, we are just below the 618, similar to the Russell. So just noticing that both the total crypto market cap since the 2021 highs as well as the Russell are in a very similar position on their Fibonacci retracements. They both went or wicked just over the 786 and have pulled back. And here's a little hopium, not financial advice, but we do have the S&P 500. It did a similar retracement over the 786, pulled back, and then later went to all-time highs up to the 1618. Alright, let's run through some recent news, and per usual, until we see volume return to the crypto asset class, until we see actual positive price action, the crypto asset class is a complete joke to the masses. Just like it was in 2019, 2020, we had XRP at 11 or 12 cents, we had Bitcoin even in 2019 under 4,000. And I know that time or how long something takes, I know that price action and news can all affect sentiment, and it can be vastly different in the future. And I always ask myself, how bad is it today? How bad could it get? Could it be vastly different in the next 6 months? Is this going to matter over the long term? Alright, first up, we can see on Ripple.com, if you click solutions and you look under these, we can see that they added the Ripple US dollar stablecoin. So we can see subject to regulatory approval, and I'm hoping to see the RL US dollar stablecoin launched by the end of this year. And there's a bunch of speculation about the use of the Ripple US dollar stablecoin and Ripple payments and institutional DeFi, all types of things. We can see deep liquidity, multi-chain issuance on the XRP ledger as well as on Ethereum. We have instant settlements and programmable finance. We also have the Q2 XRP Markets Report now available. We're going to skim through this super quick because I'm sure you guys have already seen this. We've gone over a lot of this. We can see the XRPL EVM sidechain and Axelar for interoperability. We have Archax, regulated by the FCA in the UK, expected to bring hundreds of millions of dollars of tokenized real-world assets onto the XRPL. We have preparation for future oracles, and then MPT tokens. These are the multi-purpose tokens on the XRPL. I saw this shared by Anders, and this is interesting because we know that Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple, is predicting for the final resolution of the Ripple vs. SEC court case to come to final resolution or a final verdict by the end of September, so anytime between now and the end of September. Notice last year, July 13th marked the 1-year anniversary of Ripple's landmark win against the SEC with regulatory clarity for XRP, which remains one of the 2 digital assets that has been deemed not a security in the United States. Ripple still awaits word from the court on the final piece of this case for a decision on remedies related to institutional sales before December 2020. However, and this is the most important, the central ruling that XRP is not a security will not change. There's a bunch of information in this XRP Markets Report, and there's a bunch of reasons why I believe in the future of the crypto asset class because of recent regulation. We know with the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, first participants in a stablecoin issuer sandbox, including Standard Chartered Bank and then Web3 VC firm Animoca Brands. We have the Central Bank of Brazil announcing its phased approach to unveil a regulatory framework to provide clarity for token creators and virtual asset service providers by the end of this year. Yet in the Middle East, the Central Bank of the UAE issued the Payment Token Services Regulation, which aims to regulate services related to stablecoin issuance, conversion, custody, and transfer. And one of the biggest pieces of recent news is in Europe for the European Union. The flagship Markets and Crypto Assets Regulation, MiCA, came into force for stablecoins on June 30th, with the firm Circle becoming the first global stablecoin issuer to fully comply with this MiCA framework. MiCA rules for other crypto assets will be implemented in December 2024. Running through XRP, there's a bunch of information we can see for the MPT standard, or the multi-purpose token standard, set to release in Q3. So that is by the end of September. And just referring to Archax, with them saying is expected to bring hundreds of millions of dollars of tokenized real-world assets onto the XRP ledger over the coming year. So I'd love to see some activity. We've gone over this Japan and Korea fund. They did just make their first investment that we talked about in a previous video. We have the Ripple US dollar stablecoin. And going over Ripple, the company's XRP holdings, we can see their on-ledger escrow lockups that go over each month for the next 42 months. So in March of this year, the total XRP held by the company Ripple was 4.8 billion. We can see as of June 30th, the total held by Ripple was 4.6 billion, so a little bit less. Comparing the on-ledger escrow at 40 billion, we can see that we're just shy or under 40 billion at 39.5 billion, so slowly but surely. Next up, we have for Ripple Swell 2024 taking place this October in Miami. Registration is now open. And taking a quick look at the spot Bitcoin ETF assets under management today, we can see we're right around 56 billion. And looking at Ethereum, we can see this is added on the block.co for spot Ethereum ETF AUM. We can see today right around 8.4 billion. I saw Avalanche put out an interesting post highlighting tokenization, and they say this: since the global financial crisis, private credit has seen massive growth, from 726 billion in 2018 to 1.6 trillion in 2023. Why? Partly because banks facing stricter regulations reduced their lending, especially for asset-backed finance (ABF). Asset-backed finance relies on cash flows from pools of assets for repayment, making it a large and varied market. Now, blockchain, smart contracts, and tokenization have emerged as new technologies to further capture the $8 trillion addressable specialty private credit markets. Next up, I saw this shared by the HBAR Foundation announcing Major League Paintball's NFT marketplace launching on Hedera. So they announced the launch of MLPB Armory, a custom NFT marketplace for officially licensed collectibles built on Hedera network. So keeping tabs on Casper's page, we can see some recent news announcing this Wyoming Blockchain Symposium. We have the CEO of Casper Labs speaking there on August 19th. So we can see this information available on salt.org under events, and then we can also see Salt and Kraken. We also had Anthony Scaramucci do a big write-up on LinkedIn of Casper, so if you guys are curious and want to read the whole thing, Anthony Scaramucci shared this on X or Twitter as well, titled Casper Leading the Way on AI and Blockchain Innovation. In looking at Casper Labs' website, we can see highlighting Prove AI. This is the #1 priority for Casper, ever since the hack especially, for a successful launch before the end of Q3. So we've gone over this in previous videos. We recently went through the incident report, talked about what we need to see and any concerns. We can see on their website, they say Prove AI patent pending blockchain and artificial intelligence for secure data management. So there is a patent that's actually pending. I've tried searching for it, but I can't find anything. So if you guys find anything, please let me know. I believe that patents are usually published about 18 months after filing. So if it is new, that could explain why I can't find anything. But if you find anything, looking at any databases, please let me know. And I saw this shared by Marty, arguably the most important indicator in crypto. The Chinese M2 money supply just broke out and it's going higher. We know there's different research with Bitcoin versus the M2 money supply. Right here is more so just emphasizing the US M2 money supply, but for China that can also apply. And just think about the growth of money supply. That can be potential liquidity. We can see research suggests that Bitcoin's price tends to follow the M2 money supply growth, with a lag of around 12 quarters or 3 years. We can see right here, this is the Bitcoin price chart over the past 10 plus years overlaid with the major central banks' M2 money supply. Bitcoin tends to perform well when there is an increase in the annual money supply. Examples include the '08 financial crisis. We have this deflationary period in 2016. Remember, we had a super cycle in 2017. And the pandemic in 2020, and that was marking the bottom for Bitcoin before another cycle. We can see they say, looking ahead as global central banks enter an interest rate reduction cycle in 2024, if we get interest rate cuts, an increase in money supply is expected to provide upward momentum. So in the blue, we have the M2 growth for major central banks. We can see aligning with the previous cycle tops are pretty darn close. And then we have to ask ourselves, is this actual liquidity entering the crypto asset class, or from all the monetary printing, is this just inflation and debasement of currency? And the answer is, we really don't know. It could just be a giant combination of all of those things. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting the like button and sharing your thoughts down below. As always, you can find all links, including resources for charting, trading bots, platforms, wallets, portfolio trackers, and exclusive discounts in my link tree at the top of the video description. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.